Suffolk Pod Show is produced and managed by podtalk.co.uk. I'm Mark Mason.
And I'm Susanna Hornby.
Episode 33. Susanna talks to Graham Ellis, Principal of Brookes UK and former Scottish Rugby international.
Welcome, Graham. It's wonderful to have you here on the Suffolk Pod Show.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Susanna. Thank you for inviting me.
We've been after you for quite a while, so we finally got you.
Okay.
Now,
glad to oblige.
There's so much to talk about here, but from Scottish international rugby player to now principal of Brookes UK, that's quite a journey, isn't it? And I think before we talk any about that, could you tell us where it all began and where you first fell in love with rugby?
Absolutely. Well, I'm from a place called Hawick, which is in the Scottish borders. And if anybody knows that area, you'll know that, it's just famous for rugby. Certainly, I think the era I grew up, 70s, 80s, even more so. I think life has changed a great deal since then. So there's more interest. But I just remember, I think it was true when I was growing up that as a young lad, you had a choice of interest. You could either play rugby or you got a horse. That was the kind of things you could do. And I was a bit frightened I was a bit scared of horses, so I didn't really have much of a choice at all. But no, I can remember as a really young lad with my best friend, Derek, we went up, we had what was called the park, and there was about 4 or 5 sort of rugby pitches up there. And I think it was his uncle from a really young age taking us up and just getting a ball out. And we were playing from such a young age. It wasn't organised, but we were just, and because I think Hawick was such a successful team, I don't know, people have probably forgotten this, but then in the 70s and 80s, they won the first division almost every year. And they had an amazing amount of Scottish internationals that had British Lions. And for a town of about 15,000, it was incredible, Wow. So it was kind of in the blood, rugby, I would say. And it was just a real passion for the town and, the Scottish borders.
It's in your blood, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
So early influences. I mean, you must have been watching the game from a young age too.
I was incredibly lucky. My PE teacher was Bill McClaren. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Bill McClaren, but he was referred to as the sort of voice of rugby. Yes. And he was an amazing influence on me. He was our PE teacher, and of course he was the commentator on all the big internationals. He was a very famous person in the town and throughout the world, really, and he was just the person that he would have leagues going for year 10, 11 boys at that time, and we had 4 primary schools, so there was, about 30 boys playing in each school. So for a small school, and parents, he just got parents involved, the referee, and it was just, and for him to be a teacher, I mean, not only did he inspire me to rugby, but he inspired me to become a PE teacher. That was what I was before principal. Okay. So as soon as I had him as a teacher, I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to be a PE teacher, and he was quite strict. He's from he did his training after the war in the military, so he was quite a authoritarian type figure, but in a very kind way as well, So he just had a great way with teaching and really passionate about any sport, really, not just rugby, but he inspired hundreds and hundreds of young people in Hawick, that's for sure. And I think he inspired loads of people by his voice in his commentary was superb, So I was very lucky.
His commentary was, for a better word, awesome. He had so many wonderful metaphors, and he's so exciting.
Yeah, he did. He had these kind of funny phrases, didn't he, that entertained. And he could be somebody who had even a like for rugby, but if you started to listen to him, you think, this is great. And he really enthused and inspired many non-rugby people, I think.
God, how lucky to have known him so well as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was great because not only did I know him as a young lad, but when I went to PE college in Glasgow, and I would come back and he would be a sort of mentor for me. I remember going to speak to him and interview him for a project and him asking advice. And I actually went up to help him as well as a trainee PE student. So I was so lucky to be involved and to have his influence in many different sort of stages of my life. So we're really blessed with him. Yeah.
Now, you played for Scotland. You have caps. And you played in 1997, I think it was, for the Five Nations.
That's correct. That's right. The old Five Nations. That's how old I am.
I remember them well. They weren't that long ago.
Good. No.
But you say you played later in your career.
I played from as early as I can remember, but I retired about when I was 31, 32, I think. Okay. So I had a full career, that's for sure. You know, so
And some ups and downs within that career.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to play for Scotland. I wanted to get a cap. I wanted to play international rugby from as young as I can remember. You know, that was my dream and that was my drive really in my life for a long time. You know, and it took a long time. I didn't get capped. I think I was 31. I can't remember now. I think I was 31. So I was right at the end. So I kept going. You know, I was close a few times, and then I remember once a couple of years, 95, I was on the bench and I ripped my bicep muscle at training. You know, I think it was Doddy Weir ran into me or something, and so I was thwarted sort of thing at the last minute. You know, but I kept going, and I was lucky enough to get a chance in '97. So I'm glad I hung in there. Yeah,
we are too. And in Europe, you played hooker.
I was hooker. Yeah, for my sins, and I was always a hooker. It's like. This is a true story. When you were in Hawick, Bill McClaren, when you first came into primary six, or sort of 10-year-old, they would line you up in the hall, look at you and think, right, you're a scrum half, you're a winger. Looked at me and said, you're a hooker. So that was it. And that's the truth. That is a true story. And everybody, I know a lot of other people changed, but I just stuck with it. I don't know why, you know, but I just enjoyed it. I mean, I wasn't the most naturally talented player. I wasn't like a Gregor Townsend, Tony Stanger that was fast.
Were you solid?
I wasn't. I was really skinny when I was young. That's the thing, you know. Despite, if you speak to my mum's brilliant, and she laughed because she couldn't understand how thin I was because I ate 3 times as much as anybody else. I mean, I had a huge appetite, you know, and she was amazing because she just looked after me and my dad, obviously, but they really looked after myself and sister and fed us really well and got healthy food and all that. But it took me a while. I think it's my metabolism is very high, so it took me a while. I mean, I was really quite light up until possibly 20s, and then suddenly when I really got into serious weight training, that's when I put it on. So I was very light initially, and then by the end of my career, I was actually thought about as being quite big, and I was up to about 17 stone. It just, for me, my success, if you like, came through hard work rather than natural talent. That's what I would say, and which is great. You know, I think sometimes when you work hard for something, it's even more rewarding, you know. But
proves the point too. If you do work hard, you can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the most important thing for success. I think in anything is just resilience and working really hard, doing the right type of training, whatever it is. You've got to get the right stuff, but you need to be dedicated. That's for sure. And ride the down, you know, ride over the downs and make sure that you keep going, basically.
Yeah. Now. Yeah. As a hooker, you rely very much on the men around you, and you had the Brewster Brothers. Is that right?
The Brewsters, well. If anybody is listening to this and knows the Brewster Brothers, Dave and Alex, they will have a chuckle because these two were farmers from, you know, sort of, I think West Lothian, just outside Edinburgh. Right. They were two tough guys, that's for sure. I was a young PE teacher, maybe 22, something like that, coming to Stumel, and I was thrown into this rugby team that was, you know, some older people remember the Calders and the Scotts and the Brewsters. It's all I don't know why. They all were brothers, you know. Yeah. And it was full of international players, which was incredible. I mean, I remember in '89 at Stumel, we had the British Lions captain, Finlay Calder, and we had the Scottish captain, Garlic Brewster, in the same team. It's like the same club. You know, it's amazing. But Alex and Dave I remember playing Melrose, I think it was, in what was you know, in those days it was quite different from nowadays with the video refs and the touch judges kind of watch the game. It was a tougher game in those days, I think, and I'm really glad it's changed actually. But you know, you had to watch what you're doing. And anyway, Melrose was always a tough game, but they just looked. I've been a young hooker down there. They just looked after me. You know, if anybody tried to mess with me, these two just stepped forward and sorted things out.
The Brewster bouncers, almost.
The Brewsters, they were like bouncers, the Brewster bouncers, I would call them, to be honest. But they were, and then lovely people. But you know, that hard as nails on the pitch. But they were really nice guys, you know, and they were just great to be in the team. That's for sure.
Now, can we talk about that 97 Five Nations? Because I'm not quite sure where you came in the end, but You beat Ireland.
We beat Ireland. We weren't last, that's for sure. No, we did all right. We did well against Ireland, and we had it's always hard when you play England and France away, although Scotland did great this year to win it, and that was amazing.
Incredible. Yeah.
Incredible to do that in the same season, but it's not easy to. I mean, we're a small nation, and these are big nations, so it's always tough. But yeah, it was really nice. It was great to play. But first of all, I think Wales was my first game. It was absolutely amazing to have spent all your life wanting to do one thing and then doing it, and actually experience just the atmosphere and the noise that knocked me out. I played in a few big games, but you've got 65,000, roaring. And when we scored a try against Wales, I remember just the noise. It was deafening. I thought, wow. But we lost that one, so it was even better against Ireland because we won. So
were you at Murrayfield when you beat them then?
We were, we were, yeah. It was a great day, and I've got some memory. It's hard because games just goes up in a flash a lot, but I've got some recollections of that, and it was a good game, that's for sure.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about rugby before we move on, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
As a hooker, you take on. Your adversary is the opposite number, which is the hooker. Who, in your case, in your game, and when you were playing, who was your toughest adversary? Well,
actually, I didn't play against them, but I watched them. I was rugby fanatic, so I watched as many watch and learn. And a guy called Phil Cairns from Australia was a kind of new age hooker. A lot of people thought Sean Fitzpatrick was good, but I thought Phil Cairns was bigger, and Australia were very successful in the 90s, and then sort of David Campese, etc.
Yes,
Michael Lina, amazing players, but Phil Cairns was he was a big guy, and not only big, but he was very athletic, and he was a bit like a Keith Woods. Remember Keith Woods?
Yes,
yeah.
Course, yeah.
I mean, I wish I'd played against Keith Woods. He was just a bit later, but anyway, he was injured that day. That we played them anyway, but Phil Cairns was the all round, I would say, almost like a modern day hooker. Very, very just had the ball. He got the ball a lot. He carried the ball, and he was very devastating and very obviously strong in the scrum as well, and just very athletic. And he just saw him a lot on the ball, which is a great sign. So, but I always looked to him as a real sort of model player. Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Interesting, fantastic. So when you retired, you came out of the game. What happened next?
Well, I retired. I was very lucky because it was really quite an exciting time, because when I played for Scotland, that was when the game turned, sort of professional. It had been amateur before that. So I was right at the crossover between amateur rugby and professional rugby. And it was that time where it was crossing over, and there was a lot of politics in it then. It was a crazy time in many ways, because I think it was called the SRU then, the Scottish Rugby Union, the RFU, they were trying to hang on to the amateur game, and they would talk to the group of players and say, you've got to stay amateur until, things will develop. And then, remember, I forget the names, a guy came up from England to talk to us, a group of players who wanted to set up a sort of different league, a professional league, and take us out of the SRU. So there was a lot happening then. There was a lot of political stuff going on with rugby,
Yeah.
However, it was good because I think the Northern Hemisphere countries were definitely wanting to hold off a bit more amateur, and then suddenly Australia, New Zealand, South Africa decided to turn professional overnight, and then that was it. The floodgates opened, and England, Scotland, Wales, France, they had to follow suit, So suddenly they had to organise themselves. I don't think they were prepared, because it just happened so quickly. And the next thing I knew, I was getting offered a contract to become a professional rugby player, which was like, this was like, sort of heaven, because I got a chance to do something that I love and actually get paid for it at the same time, So I was very lucky. My school, Stuart Melville College principal, said, look, we'll give you, I think it was 2.5 years off, sort of leave of absence, because I was about 30 at that point, and realising that, I didn't want to give up a really good job, and so they gave me a leave of absence, which was great. So I got to leave my job and go back to it. So once I finished playing, I went back to be a teacher at Stuart Melville, which was good. So which was a rugby school,
Yeah, it's true. I've forgotten about that, because all rugby players in those days had proper jobs.
We did. That was it, and it was amazing, and that in many ways it was great fun. That I think from the traditionalists, I think they enjoyed that. He just turned up it used to be the Thursday, then it came to the Wednesday. You'd come off on the Wednesday and then go and join the squad and get ready for the Saturday. That was a great thing. You had people from all walks of life playing in the same team, which was amazing, and the good thing about the supporters, a lot of them went along and, they would be supporting their sort of workmates, that they worked alongside. But that all changed in about, I think it was 95 or 6 it turned.
Right.
So, it's all changed now. Yeah, but I remember, funny when it went professional, everybody thought everybody's going to get a lot better. But I think they took a while to adapt to how to train us effectively. I think they thought, right, we've got them every day, we'll train them really hard. So they kind of trained us a bit too hard. A lot of players got injured, and a lot of good players didn't enjoy the whole lifestyle. They loved playing rugby as a sort of pastime, but when it was their training twice a day, every day, so a lot of performances actually dropped, ironically, because of the overtraining, I think, and because of the mental aspect of adapting to being a professional, and so it took a while. But I think nowadays, it's obviously that's all changed now. And I remember maybe about even 12 years ago now, I went in to observe the Scottish team preparing for the World Cup, and it was really nice to see at that point that they'd got it right. They had. They had a huge team of coaches that were. It's amazing what support these top players get now. It's really good to see that it's properly organised and the players are well looked after in all aspects of their game. So yeah. That we were a bit different. We were the guinea pigs, if you like.
You Scottish lot.
Yeah. We were. Yeah.
It was always so exciting watching Scotland because, gosh, you've had some teams over the years. I mean, actually, I'm harping back again now, but you played with Scott Hastings, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah, I knew him really
Another
well.
brother of a brother. Sorry.
Gavin. Yeah, I knew Scott better, but yeah, absolutely. I played with Scott, and he was a remarkable guy and a remarkable player, very athletic, and a fantastic mindset. He was just so positive. I think that was the big thing with Scott, so positive, brought a lot of confidence to the
I remember watching him play. He just looked so focused. Nothing would move his mind. It looked like that anyway. Yeah.
He I think him and his brother, they had belief. That's what they brought to Scotland. They were good players, and they brought a lot of belief. They knew that they had ability, and that brought confidence, and that's so important in anything, isn't it? And that confidence,
And they were very much part of, because Scotland did win the Five Nations in 99, and that was the last Five Nations. So there's something in that.
There's something in that, absolutely. We'll claim victory there, won't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You finished at the age of 31, as you say, and you went back to teach at the college. And how long were you there for? Because you moved here.
Yeah, quite a while. Yeah. It was over 10 years, definitely.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I stayed there for a while and got involved a little bit with coaching the Stuart Smith FP team, which was quite exciting. It's quite good to get to put my hand in there and do a little bit of support there, and obviously the school. I mean, the school was rugby mad. It had over 30 rugby teams on a Saturday morning.
Good grief!
It's the biggest independent school in Scotland, so a lot of rugby teams. That's for sure. Yeah,
and has produced many players, as you said.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's it has produced really great players in the past. That's for sure.
Now, at some point, you had a calling to Suffolk. What happened?
Yes, I met a lady, an amazing lady actually. Okay. So it was, she was based down here. So it was difficult because I had to make a decision, and I thought, right, I'm at a great school, but I'd been at it for a long time. I just felt professionally as a teacher, it'd be good to get a move. It's one of these schools that you could stay for the whole of your career, which would have been great. But I just felt I was ready for a change, so I decided to come down. Yeah.
And love, of course. Love brought you down.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm very lucky. I've been lucky. I've been well looked after by my mum and definitely by Cleetha, my wife. I'm not complaining, that's for sure.
For sure not.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So you packed your bags.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
And that was it. And you came down to what happened when you came to Suffolk? Obviously, did you have a job before you moved, or did you just come here?
I did get a job. I got a job at Castle Manor Academy Academy, which is in Haverhill, and I hadn't even heard of Haverhill, or I knew sort of Cambridge. I heard of Cambridge, but and it was a kind of opposite school to Shumel. It was a state school, a completely different school, in the state sector. So, but I absolutely loved it, though. I mean, I didn't have any rugby there. Never done rugby. Didn't have any posts or anything.
Good grief.
I didn't play rugby, but the kids were great, and I was very lucky. Just when I joined, the RFU decided to, I forget the name of that, they called it a programme. They wanted to get rugby into non-rugby playing schools, so they offered finance sort of thing, a package for schools to take up, and you got money to bring in the coaches, you got money to design rugby shirts and just support, So I snapped this up, and then by the end of it, with rugby was, I remember I think it was the assistant head teacher saying, Graham, you're doing a great job, but you need to get posts. So I haven't got any rugby posts. I said, you haven't looked up the top field, have you? And he turned around, there was posts. And we actually got the posts from a neighbouring school, because I knew the grounds, we shouldn't have got them, but they weren't using them. So I said, look, go and get them. So I thought, it was that kind of thing. You had to kind of beg, steal and borrow to get things going, But, it was amazing. I remember the sixth form, these boys, only had 10 of them, but played 10 aside, but these boys had never played, but they just absolutely loved it. And not only did they love the game, but I think more so they just loved the company of each other. And just, I don't know, it's like all sport, but I think rugby is very special, the camaraderie and just it's just the bonding, in the team. And I remember these boys as if it was yesterday. They were an amazing set of sixth form boys. They were all no real rugby. Only two of them had rugby background, so they'd never played, but they just loved it and they loved learning. And we just had a really good time, you know.
And did you get them to a competitive level?
Yeah, we played some tournaments, We didn't play any big tournaments, but we certainly played and, got some great memories of them going. They hadn't played before, so we worked hard in preparation and got them ready, but they just loved it. And they couldn't get enough of it, really, which is great.
Fantastic.
And, I met one of them actually in a shop a few years ago. I talked to him for about 20 minutes. We were just laughing and remembering sort of recollections of all the funny moments, It was just great. And it was funny because I didn't recognise him because he'd actually grown a beard at this point. So he just said, Mr. Ellis, do you not remember me? It's such and such. I was like, I didn't recognise you. I think he was even married and everything at that point. But anyway, it was really, really just great memories. And I think sport is such a great thing for developing young people. It doesn't really matter the sport; it's the development of the young person. That they learn so many life and social skills in there, And these are absolutely essential, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they are. They certainly are. Brookes UK is an independent boarding and day school, and you're just outside Bury St Edmunds.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, you're going to tell us all about it, but it seems unique. Its aura is very open and inclusive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that's the thing that people really see when they come to visit. I think we've got a very unique sort of climate and culture. It's the essence of the school. It's like the water in the fish tank. When you look at it, you don't really see it, but it's actually the most important thing. You just it's the feeling you get, and I absolutely love it when sort of visitors come and prospective parents, and every single time they come and we give them a tour of the school, the thing they say is they like the feel of the school, and we call it the sort of Brookes spirit, it's amazing. And I've taught in a lot of school. I think it's just the fact that we're not a traditional independent school. We're warm, it's a warm, friendly, caring, sort of nurturing family atmosphere, and it just produces really, first of all, relaxed children, and they seem to be happy, I know that, we have clubs at the end of school day, and it's sometimes hard to get the kids to go home. It's like the kids, they don't want to go home, because they all stay and they all it's just, the kids are happy, and I've taught in a lot of places, and it's hard to put your finger on it in many ways, but it's definitely the culture and the climate we have. And I think that's just down to, it's always been like that, even when I joined, and we've really tried, staff and parent, everybody buys into that. So I think that's the most unique part of what we do. I think because of that, because the children are flourishing, you can really reach their potential, in all areas, academically, obviously, but in other areas as well. And
no, I mean, it's so important for children to feel it's almost like being in your other family, going to a school like that. I can imagine being with your other family, and you feel you don't even have to think about feeling safe, secure. All of that is there automatically. So you're just there to live and experience it. How lovely.
Yeah. And it's really funny, I'm just thinking about this, it's come to me that we often get kids moving from other schools. I think it's because when you work there every day, you forget that it's not every school's like that, And we've had some students have joined us in the last year, and they've not been so happy, and then the parents now are some of them almost in tears to say how thankful they are because their son or daughter's come along and had an experience in the past where it's not been so positive for them. The environment's not been so good, and the parents are just so grateful that their son or daughter is now flourishing and just settled in. They seem to settle in from day one because they're a small school. All our students if we get a new student, they get excited. They're really welcoming. It's a big thing if we get some new students coming in, which is wonderful. That's something we definitely got something really unique and special in terms of our atmosphere. Yeah,
you do. I mean, it's quite clear. I mean, the children are nice to each other. The staff obviously just mix and gel well with the kids. The whole thing works. It's a balance. Is it a balance?
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's everywhere. We talk about community. It's a community. Even the parents. We've got amazing parents that volunteer for us, and they could not be kinder. Our PTA is amazing, and I think it's almost like snowballs. People get into it and feel it, and they want to contribute type thing. They want to be part of it, and that sort of makes it even better. I think it's relationships. I think that's the big thing. That's the key to anything in life, is it? And I think because we have small class size, we don't go over 14 in our classes, which is kind of half the size of a lot of classes. You can really get that depth, and I think that's a key word that we talk about a lot at Brookes, is you get that depth of relationship. It's having taught in massive schools, the best will in the world when you're teaching 30 kids, and you're teaching 200 to 300 in a week. You can't really get to know the children. You do your best, but as you get to know them as students and teach them. But at our school, you get to know them as people, young people, really well, and what their interests are, what they're like, their ins and outs of them, and that's the key to teaching, isn't it? You've got to have it's like the science and art. It's the art of teaching, isn't it? Knowing the child and how to react, because they're children are growing up. They can be different from 1 minute to the next or one day to the next, and just getting to know them and knowing them as young people, that makes all the difference. If there's an issue, you can talk about whatever you're talking about. You can bring in things that you know about them. It can be their dog, or it can be their interest, it can be their likes, and I have, it's amazing that I always try and go in the playground, and I'm not teaching as much now, so I want to try and get to know kids. So just having conversations with them is one of the best things in teaching, is just to get the knowledge of them, and they know that you're interested in them and you care about them. And there was a famous quote once given that, you can only be a good teacher if you really love your kids, love the kids, It was from somebody in ancient Greece. It wasn't like somebody a few years ago. It was like, this has been from millennia. This has been the key to good teaching, is actually liking the kids and really caring deeply about them and wanting to help them, not just to be better at English or PE, but actually to be good people. That is the crux of it, and that's what I think we strive at Brookes to produce good people, and then the good grades kind of happens up to a lot of work. But it's also, if you've got kids flourishing and happy and relaxed, they're much more likely to reach their potential academically. So yeah.
You have local children because you're a day school, but you also you're an international school. You've got children from all over the world.
We do. It's amazing. And that's something I love, because when I first joined Brookes UK, it was actually Cherry Tree, called a very famous prep school called Cherry Tree, very popular. Yeah. And a wonderful school. And but then Brookes took over, and they brought on this next dimension, which was the international dimension, that global education. And it's great. I love it. I mean, I love the Brookes spirit from the kind of coming from the foundations of Cherry Trees and also mixing that with the sort of combo with the international students. we had students from all around the world. I remember we've got a school in Petersburg in Russia. They brought over 23 students for a term, and
wow.
We all thought they were going to be Russian, but they were actually from 17 different countries. They were all diplomatic children. So they just came for half a term, and they were amazing. And that was before we just opened the boarding house, so we didn't have a lot of boarders then. So it just gave us a flavour of what this global education actually is in practice, and it was amazing. It just blew our minds away, and our local kids thought this was brilliant, and that was about 3 years ago, and still some of our kids are in contact with these children because of social media now. They're still friends.
Yeah.
And a lot of them didn't want to go back. Actually, they really enjoyed being with us, and we had some great times. We did a lot of cross-cultural nights and dinners and talent shows and sports things. And we just had some amazing times, and it gave us a real flavour of what was going to come. I just have a great passion for that sort of global type education where you've got international borders,
but it's so good for the children. They get to mix and they learn that cultural balance so early on. I mean, it's automatic to kids anyway, but it's so good for them.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you take a step back and look at the world at the moment, we need to have people around the world understanding each other and tolerating each other and learning from each other and listening to different perspectives. The world is crying out for that. As a sort of human race, we need it. So I think this is the greatest experience for both the international students and also the locals. Mixing and just learning together, and in the boarding house living together, with our local boarders, and then going in the classroom and during the day and just getting that cultural mix. And there's different perspectives. It's great. These kids they're opening their eyes, if you like, to see, because a lot of these children see the world in different ways. And that's so important for anybody in terms of personal growth. To look at the world in different ways, and our kids are learning that not from a textbook, not sitting down, or from a teacher saying this is what you have to do. They're actually learning it by interacting. They don't even know it, half the time. And our teachers are just enthused.
That's fantastic.
When you have that mix, and it just brings. I call it a buzz. It's it's hard to actually put it into words, in last term, it was great. We had loads of boarders last term, and it was wonderful. There's the buzz in the lunch hall and just round the school, and in the playground, although it was pandemic and there was loads of bubble groups and stuff, just going out as a principal and standing watching and seeing these kids, that just doing things they hadn't done before. They were all, suddenly everybody wanted to play basketball, so they were all playing basketball, girls and boys, just like that.
Why not?
Brought a buzz and I would say an energy to the school, and a different dimension. And I think it's that ability to see things differently, which is vital to the youngster, but also to the world, I think. Yeah.
Vital to them as they grow up and go on in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do hope. It's all about sowing seeds, isn't it? We think that we have sown, we're pretty sure we've sown loads of seeds in these young people's hearts and minds, if you like, and they're going to go out and just see things from a different perspective, which is wonderful. And then we've still got, they've got friendship, and one of the lads is going to come over, I think, in the summer, because unfortunately some of our boarders couldn't come back after Christmas. We were devastated because obviously the pandemic. So it's but they're all still communicating in social media. So I think one of the lads is going to come over in the summer. He's desperate to come back, but he's not allowed. So we're hoping with the easing of the lockdown that he's going to be able to come back and visit.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Let's get him back. Oh, it'd be lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I often hear schools being referred to, that's an academic school, that's an art school, that's a sporting school. Where do you position Brookes?
I think we're kind of all-rounder, inclusive environment school, I would say. We don't have an entrance exam, so we're very much open for all ability levels. And we basically take students from all different walks of life and all different backgrounds. And we believe that everybody's talent, every young person's talent in their own way. We do have, obviously, the scholarship side where we've got academic scholars, we've sporting, we've had tennis, we've had a girl that was a rugby scholar, which was fantastic. I was really pleased about that. Athletics, table tennis. We've had art scholars, and one of them won the ISA, the Independent School Association national competition. We just couldn't believe it 2 years ago. It's like we're a small school in about 500 school organisation. We got the national champion, which we were very proud of.
Well done.
Music's very big at Brookes. We've got a wonderful teacher who, and music scholars, and we've also got a good citizens scholarship, which is fantastic. So that was a new one that we put in our ethos of all-rounder and being good people that we wanted to. I don't think any other school's got this. It's a good citizen scholarship. So we can take kids in that are just good people, and have got good resume with background in helping others, if you like. So we have that. So we were really keen to put that on. So it's not just like individual talent, it's actually personal stuff as well. So we added that in there. So that's good.
That brings me on nicely. It is all about that child and that's personality and how it will fit with the other kids around it. I mean, as principal, you must bring so many positive things to the school straight from the rugby pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got to say, as I said to you, I'm a great believer. I mean, I think anything in life teaches you, but I think sport, I mean, obviously I'm very biased but towards rugby. I think, you learn life through playing a sport in rugby, it's, I think for me, definitely the positive attitude and energy that I have, I think, and the resilience were what I learned hugely from rugby, that, as I explained earlier, if you're going to be successful at anything, in sport, you have to be positive. You've got to have energy. You've got to have drive, inner drive, but you've also got to be resilient. You're going to have ups and downs. I mean, I was injured at least twice for over a year where I couldn't play. Not very bad injuries, so I had to come back. So it's that ability to stay positive, and I think that's helped me a lot during the last 12 months, if I'm being honest. The pandemic has been challenging.
I'm sure.
You had to have energy, you had to stay positive, but you had to be resilient as well. So, and I think the other thing is that you learn firsthand about the importance that everybody wants to be successful in life. Everybody wants to win, but there's less people that want to prepare for success and prepare to win. And it's that preparation that's the key thing, anything in life, that if you're going to be successful, you need to prepare really well, So I think that's what I did a lot in rugby. I trained really hard, and I brought on my own dietitian, got my own biomechanics coach, my own to try and improve myself. And I think it's that blue sky, out the box thinking, and really prepare well in education for success. And a lot of the things I've described above, it doesn't just happen. The great climate and culture in the school, it doesn't just happen. You have to create it, and that's where the hard preparation comes in, and getting others enthused in that as well. Preparing for success is a big one that I learned. Yeah.
I mean, that is just complete advice right there. You cannot be great without working quite hard to be so.
Exactly. And it's, absolutely. Yeah.
And happy too. It's all about being happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Having joy, absolutely. It's so important in life. I think a lot of us, and it's vital. I think it comes with that word energy is a big thing for me, having positive inner energy, that full of happiness and joy. If it's not, if you go in education, you're not happy and got joy, you're not going to get very far,
No, you are not.
And the greatest thing about teaching is that you can be in the lousiest mood on a Monday morning, if you had a bad weekend or your daughter's been up or something's happened, you're exhausted. But you go in front of a school, an assembly, or you go into a class, you can't go in all grumpy, you have to have energy. You've got to dig deep, and you've got to have that joy. As you said, joy is a great word. You've got to have that enthusiasm and that fun, and that you've got to energize them, haven't you? Because that's your job. It's your job is to get them enthused in education and to learn. I love going through some of the classes. I've got the 3s and 4s. I love all the classes at Brookes, but the year 3 and 4 are just great little ones. And
well, they're so rewarding, aren't they?
Oh, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. I always pass through their classroom on the way to the lunch hall, and I always say, what is going on type thing. They're all, at the moment, have to have their lunch in the classroom because of the bubble groups, so they're all sitting munching away with a teacher, and I say, what is going on here? And they all shout back, we're all happy, Mr. Ellis. And I said, you're not in a holiday camp. This is not a holiday camp, in a joking way, They say, look, I say to the teacher, they've made these kids way too happy, It's,
got to calm them down now. Thanks, Mr. Ellis.
Yeah, exactly.
Summer term is about to start. Are the children all coming back?
They're all back. We had them all back for 3 weeks before at the end of the spring term. So
of course. Okay.
That was great. Yeah, so everybody's back, and the rules are kind of the same, to be honest. But they're all back. That 3 weeks made a difference. I think, if I'm being honest, everybody was, by the end of the spring term, everybody was tired and frustrated, really. We'd gone from remote learning and having key worker children in school, so teachers were doing two jobs, really, and students it was tough. It didn't feel like a normal term, it was a different term. I think we did really well. I was really proud of the school, our remote learning. We got some great feedback. Our teachers were outstanding, and the effort they put in and for the dedication they showed to because we delivered to our kids. We did quite a lot in school, actually, key worker children and at home. So we worked them both together at the same time. We didn't sort of teach them separately. So we got that. So they were actually in their class, and that was a big challenge, a big sort of logistical challenge, and that took a big team effort. Non-teaching staff too, they were amazing with the tech and just the admin support. We've got great non-teaching staff at Brookes, and they're really vital to our support, of actually educating the kids. I think we got it really right, and it was wonderful to be able to keep the classes, just the relationships going, through Google, through the Zoom, through the sort of Google meetings that we had with the kids. They saw each other every day for a few times, and that was important. But at the end of the term, everybody was tired. So I think everybody needed this holiday to really just take a break and have a bit of a rest, And I think next term, we're all looking forward to a kind of normal, it's going to feel like more of a rhythm and more structure, more routine for the summer term. So we're all looking forward to that.
I bet.
Yeah.
Just to touch on the last bit of that bit, I understand that you're getting in extra teaching assistants. Is that right, to try and bridge any gap?
We are. That's our plan. Yeah, we've got long and hard. I mean, I think some schools have gone down the route of doing an extra week at the end of summer term, and we thought long and hard about that and just try to take a step back for a minute and just think it through, and we just felt that adding a week on at the end of summer term achieves a little, but what we're going to do is just get the children back into normal term, next term back in routine, and we'll not extend the term, but we'll be doing a lot of assessment. We're going to be doing some standardised tests so we can see where they are, not just within the school, but nationally as well. So we'll get a really clear picture of where they are, and then in the autumn term, that'll be able to inform us about what we can do. So we're going to bring in some additional TAs to start to work with the children that need extra provision and do it over the term. So it's going to be a longer term thing rather than doing it in 1 week, which I don't think you can do so well over the term, because education and learning is something that does take a bit of time, So we're taking the more long period approach, if you like. Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Something along those lines, anyway.
That's what it is. Absolutely. And we just feel, and the parents were very supportive of that as well, which was great. So, yeah.
Well, everyone has been extraordinary, teachers and supporting staff. I can't believe it. It just proves what a great team you have. That's it, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. It's been an unprecedented period, the pandemic, that's for sure. But everybody really went so many extra miles, and I think that our parents recognised that as well, which was really good. And because, and I think the students, because of that, our students got a really good education despite the constraints that were put on us. I think we're seeing the benefits of that, and that's not just meaning about gaining knowledge, and it was about the amount of interaction we were able to give them during the remote was really the key. I think, and keep them. And well-being was a massive for us. It's a massive part of our school well-being. It's what we're about. And we were able to just to keep in connection with kids, keep them connecting, and really focus on well-being, checking in with them, and also checking in with staff. We did a lot of checking in with staff too, to make sure that we did a survey every week, just to make sure a well-being survey with our staff every Monday morning, just to see to reach out if anybody needed some extra help or struggling a bit, so we could respond quickly to that. So, yeah.
Well, it's wonderful to hear. If I wanted, as I'm thinking about sending my child to Brookes UK, I could be in Suffolk and they can go as a day person, or I could be, I don't know, anywhere in the world, Hong Kong, Dubai. Sure. And how do I go about it? Do I literally just approach you, Graham?
You go on the website, and there's various links there to get more information, depending on what you want. If you just want basic information, we can send you that. We've got recruiters around the world who deal with international students in America and Asia and China and different areas of the world. So they tend to work a lot with agents and parents throughout the world, and they've got loads of information they can send out, and then they can link, if they're wanting to take the next step, they can link up with us, and we can then contact them and have meetings and discuss. But if it's local children, absolutely. We don't have open days. We're not allowed open days at the moment because of the pandemic, but we just offer tours. I mean, we've had amazing. I think Sam, our support admin teacher, was saying that we've had close to 110 inquiries this year. It's amazing. We've had real success, and I think the word's getting out there. Our marketing team's done really great work.
It's fantastic news,
We are getting loads. I mean, we can hardly keep up at the moment in keeping inquiries, which is great. It's really good news. But it's easier. In the past, you could bring them all in one day and have an open day, but we're having to do it like at 5 o'clock when all the students have gone, bring them in then on the weekend. So that's a lot of staff are happy to stay. But we have tour teams, and we just really show them around and have a kind of tour, call it a tour team, and really, again, even when the kids, they've got borders there, even when there's not many kids around, prospective students and parents seem to get a feel for the school. They seem to pick that up instantly, which again is really, really nice to hear. So even though the school is quite empty, they still get that feeling about what we're really about.
That's so important that they do. Just one more question about their boarding. Do you do weekly boarding?
We do full-time boarding. We do weekly boarding, do flexi boarding, which is really we couldn't at the moment, obviously, with the pandemic, we can't do that, but it was very popular before the pandemic. That very handy for parents,
Extremely.
If they're going away for the weekend or they're going away for an evening, they can pop them in, and we found, and our boarders can invite people in for a kind of sleepover type thing, so that's very popular. And we have some people that just come up board every week on a Tuesday night just to link up with their friends in the boarding house, so it's really popular. And we're very lucky. Our house parents, Freddie and Susie, are just amazing. They've got a little young family, and it's just like a home away from home. It is like a family, and they do an incredible job. And even despite the fact they couldn't go many places with our boarders, they've really made it a really good experience for them, which is great.
No, wonderful. Right. Sadly, we have to come to an end. But your website. I know. I could talk to you for hours. Let's do it again another time. Your website is uk.brooks.org. Nice and simple.
That's correct.
And there's a lot of information on there. I have to advise people to follow you on social media too. It's brilliant.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We've got a great group of staff. A few months back, our marketing consultant finished, and we had another one that they came up and said, "Look, we'll form this social media team." So they just formed it, the four of them, and they've really gone to town on that, and they do a super job, going a lot of extra miles to get snapping images and getting wee stories and just linking, and really putting it out there on our social media sites. And it makes a big difference, actually. It's great. There's something about, I think the parents really appreciate it, and prospective parents, just to get a snapshot of what our school and what our, and it's all the kids seem to be smiling, which is good. So
that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
At some point we'd love to come and actually have a look around ourselves, but for now,
I'd love you to do that. You're very welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to you, Graham. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Susanna, for this opportunity. It's been an absolute delight, and I'm so impressed with your knowledge of rugby. That is
You wait till I tell everyone about that.
Absolutely. Well done.
Okay, many thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Suffolk Pod Show. Find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or you can visit our website, podtalk.co.uk. And here's our disclaimer.
The Suffolk Pod Show will not be held responsible for any omissions or errors in its podcast.
The Suffolk Pod Show is produced purely for entertainment purposes. Views and opinions are that of our own or that of our guests.